So thanks for everybody coming. My name is Mike Hotlzman. I have a company called Profitable Food Facilities. We are a consulting and design firm focusing on specifically on club operations, or what we kind of call captive market food. So captive market is where they come to the club, or it's just the one restaurant that we have, and then we're working within those parameters and challenges of how we can fix our operations or make them better. So done 480 projects all over the world, 230 specifically to private clubs. We've designed over 200 kitchens. We've probably been in hundreds more. Our thing is about saving our clients millions of dollars, and here's some of our recent projects that we've worked in Farmington and DC Ranch, Country Club of Virginia. I've even done advising for congressional as well on how to maximize their efficiencies, and really what our ultimate goal is for your success. So part of this whole thing about the kitchens is that it's a difficult little track, because one of the kitchens that are designed really, really well are most of the time not done by equipment dealers. Those are done by proprietary companies that do those things. So when we go to an equipment dealer for advice, they're only going to know what they know. But in the expertise that we've been able to bring to the table here and make these operations really rock, we'll give you a sense of that as we kind of go through this presentation. So we've heard this kind of before. We don't have any money for a kitchen remodel, but we sure need a new bunker on the 12th hole. This is a really common thing that we get kind of lost, where we'll go to a board meeting and they'll be talking about, gosh, that bunker out there, and then you kind of come in and say, hey, do you think we could get some money for the kitchen? And they're like, why? Our food comes out fine. What's the problem? Why would we need anything like that? It's not a big deal. So, but we know operationally those are huge, huge challenges to make sure that we can service our membership, especially on Friday at 7 o'clock. So these are the type of things that we see. We walk in and you say, why do we need a remodel when we're using brick to hold up the legs of the kitchen, or hold up the refrigerators to make sure they can stay and make sure that this all works? And freezers that are a little bit overflowing with product because we don't quite have enough room to put it all in there. Or lines, this is so common, that you have your hot wells, and there's the hot well sitting there with all this cold product in there, and yet not really efficiently held. So, kind of coming across here, here we've got all the inserts out, and and I know that if we came in right now and the health department came in, they would not be really happy about having it laid out like that. And again, very minimal working space. If you actually measure that, you're only working with about 6 inches of space, and none of us really like to work on 6-inch cutting boards. But this is common practice in most kitchens that we see, especially the ones that were built around the year 2000, because most of the product then was béarnaise sauce and gravies and heavy sauce products that required a lot of hot inserts. But the kitchens of today are all about cold ingredients and fun foods that require a lot of inserts from the cold side. Hence, this is what happens with a lot of the kitchens that we're falling behind. Very minimal plating space, only one place of window here, and we're trying to do both plate storage and window service in the same window, because we can't put the plates here, and we try and put them up here, but they're too far away. So there's a whole different way to do this shelving to make sure that we can get this all laid out properly. Smoke coming from the hood systems because they aren't quite working the way that they should, where we have a cloudy kitchen like this. So we have to look at least into the HVAC systems, and a lot of these hoods were put in many, many, many years ago. Front counters where we have no place to land an expo. Again, no working space with our soup wells in the wrong place and plates all over, and it's just commonality that we just don't have enough place to land. And I know the common thing that we hear, we'll make it work. We make it work. It's great. We can make it work. I get it. We can always make things work, but being able to have it laid out properly to begin with is really the place that we want to be able to start. So, I clearly say this. I'm a kitchen designer and a consultant. I would never claim to be an architect. So why do architects claim to be kitchen designers? I know that we've had many, many people come into your club and look at different things, and they say, oh yeah, we hand it off to an equipment dealer, and they design it for free, and then we get to take it from there. But and I know that if anything's free, it's probably not the level that we want it to be. And then what are they going to do? They're going to make it back on every piece of equipment that they sell to you. So coming in with an efficiency expert is really probably the best way to go. When you look at this line here and you just kind of study it, brand new line, this line was put in over $100,000 in equipment just on this line alone, because it's an integrated one single manifold gas line that runs through, which is a super cool idea that sounds great. But when you look at this line and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ovens, no place for your proteins, and one single fryer in the center of the line, So that means if you have a freezer and you want some fried product, you're going to have to cross over either saute or broiler to even get there, and then ending up with a small flat grill with these 5 ovens on the line. So where are the proteins? Where are you going to put your steaks and your meats and all that? Probably on this other side over here, which is all going to add up to time and mess up your steps. And these are the types of kitchens that get built, but when they're built this way, you don't end up with the efficiencies that you want. All of these pieces should be modular on casters so that you can wheel them out individually and repair them individually and also replace them individually on an ongoing basis. So again, just looking at the single fryer in the center, how you've got to walk over 5 to 8 steps to go get frozen product to put in that single fryer. And what if you have a fish fry? You probably don't have enough fryers to make this thing work. So where are you going to put the next one and how do you fix it? That's why it's really, really great to make sure that you have these all brought in on casters on individual pieces so that you can change them down the road. This is in that same kitchen where they put in, this is the whole catering operation, the place where they're supposed to put together all the plating for catering. So when you see something, this is 27 feet long, this table is. We call this shelf right here the head bonker, because if you're really going to try to plate something up here, you're going to hit your head on this all the time. And then there's no flexibility with this space. You can't move the tables around. You can't put them where you want them to be for that particular banquet. Maybe you want 2 together. Maybe you want 3 together. However you want to lay it out leaves you no flexibility with this. All of our kitchens have tables that are on casters in the back that you can move around to exactly where you want them to be. So these are some of the things, again, that we see all the time. Here you can see that this is great that they did put in the working space into this table. However, look at the depth of this cutting board. You know, when you see how deep it is here, it's hanging out 6 inches. Now you can't get to any of the drawers or the doors on the refrigeration without hitting your hand. And quite frankly, this is just going to, the reason this is chipped out because the guy hit his hip so hard on this that he chipped the cutting board. So it's just dangerous to be able to work in a kitchen like this when you can lay these out in a whole different way that don't require this type of cutting board. Again, this is better. These are pizza prep tables. We highly recommend them. This is specifically the one from True, but the problem with the one with True is that the cutting board still hangs over the edge, even over the drawers. We're a big fan of drawers instead of doors and utilizing those, but you want to make sure that you get the right cutting boards to match it out. And there are specific brands that will do that for you. Here, this was at a kitchen we were just at yesterday, and looking at this, I'm not sure why they have an 84-inch dishwasher. That's a 7-foot dishwasher. They did purchase it. It's $48,000 to do their dishes, and if you were doing $5 million a la carte, I would be very happy with that. That's fine. This operation is doing less than $2 million. A la carte's only $700,000, and banquet's about $550,000, and the rest is liquor and other things that are going on at the pools. So a $1.2 million operation with an 84-inch dish line, that's money that you could have spent all into your hot side instead of putting it into a dish room, and frankly done this with a 44-inch dishwasher and then had more place for clean landing so that you can actually fit stuff out here. But they only have 4 feet of clean landing, which is only 2 dish tubs, and they back up all the time because they can't keep up with this. It's too big of a dishwasher. That, my friend, is something that's sold by an equipment dealer. Sold not by what's right for efficiency, but sold by an equipment dealer. Now, if you're doing 5 to 10 million, then this is an operation and a dishwasher that we would need. Again, the same kitchen that we were in yesterday, just getting a sense of here's the working space. They did put 2 pizza prep tables on each end. That's super, but when you come down the line here and see what they have to work with, and looking at this space right here where the hot wells are, I mean, literally no place to land any plates to be able to assemble the kitchen the way. So this is how it all looks all the way down. Only 8 inches of working space after no inches of working space. Very, very difficult to work in. And again, the cutting board's hanging over the tables. So, you know, these are the things that we in our designs want to make sure we eliminate for you and give you a 16-inch working space all the way across. Our little secret is that we put the shelves and attach them to the ceiling, and that's how you're able to open up the kitchens and get the spaces that you want right. So some of the private club facts that are true right now: only 200 clubhouses have been built since the year 2000 in the United States, and of the 14,000 golf courses that are here, there's only 200 new clubhouses that have been built. Jack has no projects in the U.S. right now. Almost 3 golf courses are closing every week, And then, as we know in club world, formal is changing more to a family environment. That changes the menus, which changes the kitchens. 50% or more of your business is now high volume a la carte. And coming from chef training, if that's what you've done, if you're doing that much a la carte, we're not necessarily trained in our schools, in CIA schools, about a la carte dining. It's much more about the banquet side and really getting that down and making out some awesome plates. But we've got to be able to keep up with all a la carte, and if they haven't seen the kitchens designed properly, then they keep running into the same boat. And then Asia's now building courses. Jack Nicholas has 40 projects over there, and again, like I said, none in the US right now. And they're learning from our mistakes in terms of clubhouse design to get these all right as well. So here's the challenges that we see with most of the kitchens. There's 4. I'd like to this will be another question for you. How many of you have at least 4 hot wells on your line, or at least 3 hot wells on your line? Just say yes in the chat in the lower left-hand corner. It's a question just to let me know. That would be great. And then only 2 shelves that can hold 1 plate. So what happens is a lot of the shelves are there. You have your single shelf, which should be for food. The next shelf up should be for plate storage, and then the next shelf up should be for all your miscellaneous. 95% of the kitchens that we see only have 2 shelves. So we integrate the plate storage with the food line, and we end up with only being able to have a few plates in there. And then most of them are only about 12 inches deep. So when you're only 12 inches deep, you can only hold 1 plate. So if it's 21 inches deep, then you can put 2 plates on the line and be able to put that through that way. So not enough cold storage for your inserts. Very simple thing that you do. Take your menu, count the number of ingredients that you need, and 98% of the time you're going to be short with the number of inserts that you have with your current line. So we want to be able to make sure that we can put everything that if you do a Cobb salad, for example, Cobb salad needs 5 to 10 ingredients on it. You need 5 to 10 inserts. Then you've got maybe a Southwestern salad. It's going to have other products like corn and beans and other things. Each one of those things need an insert. When you total up the number of inserts, if you have to start going into the doors of your refrigeration, then that's going to start costing you time. Not enough cold inserts. Split lines. Again, we see that a lot. Hot side and cold side. Okay? Most kitchens in country club world are split line kitchens. Not a bad concept in theory, but the problem is, as we know, this is what happens. It's Friday at 6 o'clock. What happens? All the salads come in. What happens on the hot side? Hot side's not doing anything. Then 6:30, all the entrees come in. What's happening on the other side? Nothing. They're all buried. The cold side's not doing anything. Then all the desserts come in. Then they get buried. So now, there is a concept that does split their lines. Cheesecake Factory does split their lines, but that is for a 10 million and up operation, and we highly recommend splitting them when you get to those type of volumes. But if you can integrate your lines, just think about this. If we can get the whole kitchen served on one line, then all that space in the cold side could turn into a great prep space for you. It could turn into a nice walk-in to store other things that you're missing on your space. So there's ways to repurpose your space and get what you want to do in terms of your efficiency. A single hood for both catering and a la carte, very, very difficult again when you're trying to do a la carte and banquet at the same time. And then beware of the free design from the equipment dealer. As we all know, many of you have had those, so just be aware of that. When you see kind of a whole kitchen plan that's laid out like this, and this is one that we were asked to review, and there's a lot of issues. There are some things that are very, very good about this line, but there are definitely some things that are definitely challenged. So if you kind of zoom in a little bit here, and to give you a sense of this, if you kind of look at this, is the banquet lines back here on the back side, and then we've got the a la carte line up here. And you know, I'll just tell you the most intriguing part to me. When you have a sandwich table, which are these tables right here, okay, and it's labeled as a sandwich table, those are always 8 to 12 inches of cutting boards only. And then when you see this in the middle, and this is a kitchen that was designed only last year, 5 hot wells in the center of the line. How would we ever need 5 hot wells on a kitchen in anything we do a la carte right now? So taking these hot wells and taking it down to only 2 or 3 hot wells instead of the 5 that are there that you can see right here. Taking those down and then the other thing that we do with those hot wells is we turn them 90 degrees. So that way you get the full working space across. This project also had 2 charbroilers, one here and one here. One of these was natural wood burning, which is a great concept and a great idea, but it changes your whole hood. So if you want to have natural smoked wood, which is, there's nothing wrong with having that, but be aware the hood is 4 times as much as expense. They're about $10,000 a running foot, require lots of other restrictions to just be aware of. Whereas there are specific broilers right now that will add all that smoky flavor into it. Every single Outback Steakhouse has one of these, and it's a $900 option with one of the brands we recommend. So if you want to know what that broiler is, just to let you know, send me a little message and say, hey, Mike, what's the brand on that? And I'll make sure that I let you know the brand name of that particular one. There are lots of other issues, but I just wanted to point out that this is the first standout. When you see the hot wells like that, that's the part that you want to make sure that if you're going new, you just don't need that many to be able to function. So why use an expert kitchen designer who knows clubs? High volume a la carte is here to stay, and country club chefs are not trained in this type of design. I'm not criticizing anything about how your chef is. The chefs that we've run into are excellent and great knowledge of food base, pretty good on the financials, but the a la carte piece is not something that they grew up on. And what I mean by that is how many of them worked in a chain environment that worked in a high volume a la carte operation 7 days a week. Okay, that's not where most of them come from. They've come from hotel world or some other parts, so they have not seen what these kitchens look like. In a lot of the remodels, it's really simple, can say, hey, let's take out that wall, but when you get to the reality of it, we come in with these kitchen remodels and we've moved one wall in the entire ones that we've done, only one. The kitchen spaces are usually fine, we just need to lay it out in a different way. There has to be a GC meeting before equipment orders to minimize change orders. Just to let you know, 50% of the profits come from change orders for a construction company. They're anticipating us in our designs to make mistakes, because when we make mistakes and we come in to go plug in that new fridge and there's no plug there, then they look over at the owner and say, there's no plug, that's a change order, it's $500, I got to rip out the drywall, and somebody forgot it. So we got to make sure those things get checked. Equipment specs can change even during installation. We've seen this happen where we've ordered a pizza prep table with drawers. The pizza prep table shows up with doors. The owner wasn't aware that it was specified that way, but we knew it was, and we know that that's as much as a $1,200 option to get drawers instead. They're essentially taking $1,200 and putting it in their own pocket when they don't finish that for you. We just had a situation where we say don't let them drop the equipment and run. The problem a little bit, ladies and gentlemen, about ordering online that you've got to be aware of is that when you order equipment online, when they drop ship it, make sure you check it before that freight company leaves, because if there's any damage to it, then all of a sudden it becomes a freight company issue instead of an equipment issue. And when it becomes a freight company issue, you're going to have to probably wait 6 to 8 weeks to get that fixed. So one, don't let them leave till you plug it in. Uncork it, make sure it works, but more importantly, what I would do is probably buy it from a reputable equipment dealer, force them down to match your web restaurant price, and then have them deliver it to you as site, so that all that stuff is taken care of. 40% of equipment issues are shipping. So just letting you know, that's where most of the problems are. That's why I like to buy it specifically from a dealer and just make him match the web restaurant price. This is what happens when specs get done a certain way but then don't get checked before they get installed. So there you are in your dish room and you know that that glass rack is supposed to have 2 sides to it, right? This is what happens when we were not involved in the process. When they had the dish room installed, they only put the glass rack on one side. So when you're coming up to do glasses, where are the glasses supposed to go? I'm supposed to like reach over the top and put that in like that? It's really like, this is the things to me that are so frustrating from your end, from an operator, to see these type of things occur, in these kitchens, to see these designs happen when they're finished. So here's a simple outdoor pool operation, new kitchen design that was handed to us recently. And if you kind of look through the line again, here we've got our stove and our flat grill and our charbroiler and our fryer. It's okay, I'm good with all that, except we have really no place to land back here that I'm supposed to service this product. I have the counter out here. Here's the guest coming up and ordering. Here's a double sink, my triple sink requirements, and my dishwashing area. Fine. I know this is a tight space and a tight kitchen, but when I'm working here and I have to turn with this plate to go get lettuce, tomato, and other items, where are the ingredients in this? These are toasters and things that are set on the counter. There's no place to work in here. It has lots of equipment, again, done by an equipment dealer, but no place to work. So when we kind of sketched out a revised plan of that same space, adding a wall here so that we could create a refrigeration freezer spot for ice storage and the triple sink, and then coming down to where the counter service is with 2 POSs here, and then our double sink prep area back here, and then here's our line with all the equipment here, landing onto a pizza prep table to give myself some working space. That's how we laid it to the dealer to make sure that it was done this way. So at least we got to this plan soon enough before the product was ordered and be able to sketch them. But then let's see what happened on the install. All right, so we're good on this side. They did get everything in there. We got the hot side with the flat grill and the char broiler, refrigerated drawers below, the fryers, all that part, salamander above. Great solid line. They nailed that part. That part was good. But when we came to the other side, this is the side of the servers. So this is where you're picking up your food. I have no idea why they put a sink in the middle of that. That's not where we want to have in your expo line having a sink. This is a freezer for ice cream. That wasn't even in the specifications at all when we had that. And then when we come over to the other side of our side, you know, we have a simple megatop giving us a 6-inch cutting board, and then again another sink. So that's what came out of this without us being able to inspect the kitchen. We were supposed to have a pizza prep table on that side. Our double sink is over here for all our prep. Here's your landing side on your expo, just a table so that you can pull the product down. There were supposed to be shelves above here so that the food would have a place to go and land in that area there. And then, like I said, they did fine with the line, but all this stuff that operationally we have to work in, someone else didn't follow through on, and then you end up with spots like this. When you're working on counter space, this was supposed to be my side for the side landing for my team, just wasn't supposed to be right. So we want to make sure those things don't happen operationally. Why remodel your kitchen? Why even look into the potential of remodeling? The capability to keep up with current and future trends from added seating. We're seeing this happen a lot in club remodels, right? Here you are, you're doing your remodel of your club. We're going to expand the outdoor seating. We're going to redo the interiors. We're going to put 40 or 50 more seats. And when they do that, what happens to the operation? You're right, we just added 10 more tickets on a Friday night. 10 more tickets to what you already have operationally right now. So if we don't change the kitchen with the operation, it's going to only get worse. And ladies and gentlemen, remember, your team is working in there, your food and beverage team. Put yourself in their shoes for just a little bit. Would you want to be in that kitchen on a Friday night when I don't have the proper tools to do my spacing and put out the product in a proper way? So we want to that's part of why turnover occurs so much in clubs, is because the a la carte lines are very, very difficult to manage. Integrated lines for operational efficiency. So here's what we mean by that. If we have basically enough cold storage on your lines to be able to service the salads, then as the salads come in, I'm going to give the most popular salad, say, over to the broiler station, and then the rest of the salads over to the saute station. So when we got the Cobb salads going up on the left, and the Southwest salads coming up on the right, and then the small salads that we have that included all the meals that we've already probably pre-prepped those to have them all ready. Salads are going to go up one space real quickly into an integrated line, and I'm using one staff team to be able to handle all this. So that's the goal with that. Integrated lines. Cooking styles have changed. We know that we've gone much more from hot sauces in the 90s and early 2000s to lots and lots of cold ingredients with lots and lots of things that we need to put on cold. The average kitchen we're seeing needs about 60 to 70 inserts, and that's going to require at least 2 very large pizza prep tables to be able to handle that. So knowing that, also the average kitchen right now only needs about 2 hot wells. So most of them have too many, and we're able to change those out to get these kitchens right for pretty inexpensive thing. Imagine if you can just have your cold side space where you land from your hot equipment onto something that has enough plating room to work. That's how we can really make this a go. And then improve consistency of product. So here's the 2 complaints that we hear most from the membership. Okay, either the food is coming out really slow, or the food is coming out very inconsistent. When those 2 things are showing up, it's not your team. There might be a little bit of I overportion fries or a couple of things there, but most of the inconsistency and slow is because of the kitchen itself. And then increasing the speed of service, we know that we can do a kitchen remodel. The average speed increases by more than 50%. So if you're able to handle 12 tickets on a Friday night in a certain amount of time, you will now be able to handle 18 tickets in the same amount of time. Magic number seems to be right around that point of getting that right up to 15 tickets is when the team really starts to struggle, and I kind of say go down into the weeds. So we want to be able to keep that number up to more like 20 before they seem to get into trouble. So Brad's got a question here. Is there an industry average ratio of square footage of dining to square footage of kitchen? There are some ratios for that. That's a great question, Brad. The standard ratio is kind of 1 to 2, 1 part kitchen to 2 parts dining is kind of a rule of thumb out there, but a little bit depends on size in terms of, because if we're talking a small snack bar or something, that's a different ratio than it would be for a full-blown operation a la carte dining. But in a standard a la carte operation, you're basically looking 1 to 2. So if you have a 2,000 square foot building, 660 square feet for kitchen, 1,300 square feet for dining is kind of the ratio that they look for in that. But you can start to see when I say that as a 2,000 square foot space, that 700 square feet is a pretty small kitchen, okay? And getting that up to, if you were in that type of size, you'd probably be more like about a 50-50 ratio. But what we say in standard of a kitchen for a club, we like seeing the club at about a 2,500 square foot kitchen is a good one that we can be fully self-contained. That's going to be the best way to do it, is right around that 2,500 square foot mark if you're starting from new or starting from scratch. And we do see that most kitchens are around there. It can be done in 1,600, 1,800, a little bit harder under 1,500 square feet to get everything that you need, but we can make it work definitely. What are the benefits of the remodel? So kind of going through this, we can significantly reduce the subsidy or amenity or loss of the P&L. Again, we see lots of different words in club world, whether it's, I mean, when something's a loss, we call it a subsidy, or when we're serving an amenity to our members. So imagine if you're able to redesign this kitchen and get one person. If you got, let's say, 2 on cold side and 4 or 5 on your hot side, if we're able to integrate the lines and only have 6 people working instead of 7, then that's going to obviously reduce our payroll over time significantly, and the efficiency is going to be much, much better. Increased revenue for capital projects that we just want to be able to do, make sure that, and this kind of comes up at the end, but here we are when we do mowers, when we're doing our grass, and we have, all right, that's got a 5-year life, and then we replace it. And you know that your grounds keeper, your supervisor, ground supervisor, gets every mower he wants and everything he wants for the greens to take care of the course. And then we come to the kitchen, and then it gets kind of forgotten of, yeah, I hope to get a $30,000 capital budget this year, or yeah, we might get 20 grand a year or something like that. No, we want to be able to get our kitchen redone at least every 10 years because of what we need to be able to plan for. So we want to be able to make sure that that's put in. And one of the things that we're able to do as a third-party entity, let me just say it this way. I've taken board members through kitchens in the middle of Friday nights, and every time I do that, you get a new kitchen. Every time. So that's what third-party influence can do. You can be sitting there saying, oh my gosh, our kitchen doesn't work really well, and the board kind of looks at you and goes, yeah, and they nod their head, and then they go fix the bunker. So when we come in as a third party coming to make this happen, and they're like, run them through like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this team has had to deal with this for so long. We need to get this taken care of. So that's really kind of the parts that we kind of bring to the table of this. Versatility for future needs, that's part of creating the kitchen in a modular fashion, so that if trends change over the next 5 to 10 years, if you've got everything on casters, you can just replace it. And then remember your center table, what I kind of call your chef table, that's your 25-foot, 20 to 30-foot table in the center that's got your cold stuff on it. If it's all one piece, that's how we don't do those anymore. We do it as a modular piece coming in. Everything's modularly put in, so that let's say that you need another hot well down the road. We put in a 67-inch prep table, or we're going to put that down to a 48-inch pizza prep table and give you another hot well. That was $5 grand to fix that. So that's how easy it is to be able to fix this when everything's modular. Labor savings that we've already talked about. There are some really exciting new technologies that are coming out in equipment now in seeing this. One brand I'd highly recommend you take a look at from a flat grill standpoint is AccuTemp. Their flat grill, as we usually think of a flat grill, is just a piece of steel. right? You heat a burner and you got a piece of steel, and that's what a flat grill is. Theirs has steel, a layer of water, and then a layer of steel. So those three things in there with the water in between creates instantaneous recovery to your flat grill, so that if you, and it also creates 325 degrees all over the flat grill, right where it should be, and not just in the center, but in your top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right corner. Great technologies that are out there. Many of you are aware of combis as well. We see taking out the steamers and putting in combis instead. There's some really great technology that we've seen that we can be very beneficial, and then also very influential for you, because combis are $30,000. And sometimes they look at that and go, why don't you just get a double convection? Well, the reason you don't is because if you take a piece of prime rib, put it in a double convection, what's your yield? Let's say you put in a 10-pound rib. What do you usually end up with? About 8 pounds, about an 80% yield. You take that same 10-pound prime rib, put it into a combi oven, what do you get? A 9.5-pound rib with all the moisture staying inside the meat. Whole different prime rib experience, right? For those of I know a number of you have these, but just being aware of this, all these new technologies are just super that are coming out to make food so much better, and without modifying it, we're just keeping a little bit of moisture in it to keep it up in its quality. And then energy savings, again, a lot of this newer equipment is also much better in energy savings, and creating that in the club as well. So kind of my thought on this, and just kind of wrapping up with you, because I want to make sure that I left some time for questions, and we're at almost 10:45. So going through this and just kind of summing this up. The reactive management part that we say is that when we say that, we're referring to specifically on your Friday nights or your busier times. You know, we see these, we kind of say, oh my gosh, all the members are coming, and what do we do? And it's so busy. And well, you know, part of this is that we need to have all the tools that we can to make it work. We know that we can come in and facilitate a remodel for these clubs that will basically be done if we start on, let's say in March, we can do that kitchen in about 90 days. We can turn it completely around for less than $250,000 in about 2 to 3 weeks of downtime, and solve 90% of your kitchen issues to increase your efficiency by 50%. So that's what we're about, and trying to create that. The clubs that are proactive with these remodels have essentially solved a number of the member complaints. A lot of the member complaints that we're hearing, like you said, about slow times and speed of service are focused around this. And we get some clubs that are kind of scared. They go, well, wait, Mike, what if we do this new kitchen and it doesn't work? Well, that's a very valid concern, because that wouldn't be much. That if we spent $250,000 and nothing got better, that wouldn't work very well for us, would it? So I get that, and we've looked at spaces to make sure that that's not going to occur. So we know that if we minimize steps and be able to make things more efficient, it's just going to move faster. And I mean, one of the last projects we did, we had the word come back from the staff and from the membership, the food's coming up so fast, this front of the house can't keep up. So that's great. That's exactly what we want to hear when we're putting in these kitchens. And then last but not least, here's the thing. Remember, we were talking about the mowers. We want to make sure that you put in a budget item, same right here, on the 217 budget, for a 10-year plan to replace the kitchen equipment. There should be $30,000 put aside every year, so that within 10 years you can basically replace the whole kitchen. Very similar to the golf course mowers. So I've got a question here from Brad. Does a combi oven essentially replace the convection oven or augment the equipment line? So that's a really good question. A combi oven can do a couple of things. Usually what we see, in answering the question, it can definitely replace the double convection oven, particularly if you get a double stack. A double stack is usually 6 inserts with a 10 insert stacked on top of each other, and they take the same space as basically a double convection. I like it though when we design a line to really take out, in looking at the back line, we're talking about the catering line right now, looking at either taking out a steamer that's back there, or looking at the different pieces, because combi is usually number 1 and double convection is number 2. A 6 burner back there is usually number 3. Those 3 pieces can definitely run your entire back. And then we get into tilt skillets and basically the kettles, depending on how much, whether you're making stocks or those type of things, is where we kind of when we're getting into the details back there. But yes, it can replace the convection oven. It'll make potatoes much better. It'll make bread much better. All those things, when we're adding moisture back to those things, will basically make those items much, much better in there. So, just letting you know about how we kind of work with this. We'd be happy to review. We always review kitchen plans for no fees at all, just to see whether they're even possible or not. Our process is we come to every club for 2 to 3 days before we even sketch anything. And we want to be able to talk with your chef, talk with your management team, talk with a few members. We want to be able to get the membership to buy into this, because this is an important part of it. We can do these great plans and then they say no. That doesn't do you a whole lot of good. So we want to make sure that we can be also the liaison to make sure that these remodels go through the way that you want them to be done. And then the last part of what we do is that we facilitate it and make sure that it runs really smooth. Remember that a kitchen is a big giant utility. A brand new kitchen with 100 pieces of equipment probably has 250 utilities that have to be coordinated with water and drain lines and sewer and all those things that occur with that. We've got to make sure that are right, and the utilities are in the right heights and the right locations. We've done this enough and understand it enough that we want to make sure that those are done for you. And lastly, we guarantee our fees. If you don't see the value of what we brought, you can keep your checks. That's how we've always done it. So with that in hand, you can always contact us here, but let's say we're online right now. We've got you for a few minutes. Anyone else have any more questions besides Brad's question about the combi? Go ahead and just type those in there, because I want to make sure we leave time for that, because I know that you guys can have specific questions too about your kitchens and what we can do to make them better. So does anyone else have any more questions that we can administrate while we're here? And again, my thing with today is I wanted to make sure I took no more than an hour of your time, because I know that your time is valuable. We could talk about this subject for hours, but I want to make sure that I leave you the time of day to let you get back to your work today and able to do the things you wanted to accomplish. So does anyone else have more questions? Got another one. Do you do bar designs as well? Same principles apply. Very good question. Bars, here's the good news about bars. The good news about bars is only about 12 pieces of equipment that we can put in there, okay? But in answering your question, yes, we definitely do bar designs, because boy, do we see a lot of those that are laid out very inefficiently as well. We need to make sure we're tying in glycol systems. Why are we rolling kegs into these things anymore? And if you roll kegs into those direct draw systems, basically you're spending $6,000 or $7,000 on the direct draw. And then when the keg runs out, you get beer all over the place and splattered all over you and everywhere else. Whereas with and the beer averages temperature around 40 degrees. When we do it with a glycol system and we put that in the basement or someplace that we can make, we just need a 7x7 space to get this happening. We spend $12,000 on the walk-in instead of $6,000 on the cooler. So we want to make sure that that's an excellent question that we do definitely bar design as well. The efficiencies of those are really key. We want to make sure the liquor is lockable. We want to take people through. We had someone designing a plan of this great indoor-outdoor bar. It's going to be awesome. And when they did the indoor-outdoor bar, when you think about this, it sounds just roll up the doors and we've got the indoor-outdoor bar. And I asked one simple question: how many bottles do you need to store for your liquor? And the client said, we need to store 55 bottles. And I go, great. And if I open up this wall, where are you going to put those 55 bottles? Because below we've got refrigerated for all of our bottled beers. We really have minimal place for plasticware or glassware rather. And then we have no place for the TVs as well if we open up this wall. And I hear this on this other side of just a bunch of chirp, 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 chirp. And then the architect comes back and goes, you're right, Mike, we should not make this an indoor-outdoor bar. We'll make it an indoor-outdoor bar, but there's going to be a door in between so that we have back bar on both of those locations. So those are the type of things that we catch kind of going through to make sure that the plans are right. So again, contacting Bill there for anything that you want to talk specifically about your kitchens. I appreciate all your time today coming in. Shoot me some more questions if you want, and I'll just answer them directly. And thank you so much. You guys have a great day.